Welcome to episode 66 of New Game Experience. My name is Juan Paulini. I'm sitting here with Christian Caroli. How are you, my friend?
Doing well.
John Gant. Now we have to start all over. No, I'm kidding. And John Gantes, how are you?
Quarantine.
Yes.
Great.
COVID has struck yet again in your household.
Yeah. Second time in 2 years. 2 years? How much? How long have we been on COVID? Like forever
2 years.
already? Like
2 years. Yeah.
All my
Have
life.
we ever not been on COVID?
Exactly.
What is that?
It's longer than... I'm not gonna go there.
But yeah, I know. I mean, we see you happy, we see you healthy, and we're with you. You know, I mean, these things can attack in many sorts of ways. So you know, stay strong, brother.
Drink
But
Coke.
we're not. So yeah, that is actually the recommended thing that you should drink when you get COVID.
Sugar.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
Well,
That's
Coke
the-
Zero.
Fat,
Coke Zero,
you
you know,
should
'cause
get
I'm a
as
man.
fat as you can.
I drink Coke Zero because I'm a man and I don't drink Coke Light because that's for women. So Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah. I mean, the ingredients are the same. It's just, you know.
Everything is the same. Just one is dark and black, and the other is like light and white.
Damn,
And one is for
that's
men
right.
and one's for women. You know, but nah. It's not the same.
Don't live.
Oh my God. I can't stand either zero or diet. It's just for me, I have to go, like, if I'm going to the Coke, which is already shit, I have to drink the original because
I don't know, man. It's
If you're
too
going to the
much.
Coke.
Too much sugar.
yeah, but at least I know what I'm dying of. I know I'm gonna die of diabetes. If I drink the zero, I don't know what kind of cancer I'm gonna get.
I don't know.
stopped
I
drinking,
cannot prefer
Coke.
cancer over diabetes, but you know.
You could lose a limb, although I mean,
In both cases, you can.
It's true. It's like my granddad. He just lost an arm and a leg, and then had a heart attack, and then died.
Damn.
okay,
Pretty
and
epic.
that
Wow,
and that
this
kicks
is the
off
most
the show.
hopeful episode ever.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Now talking
my
about horrible things.
Exactly, talking about horrible diseases.
Now that we're in the subject, let's talk about another terrible disease called.
Jason Schreier. No, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Damn, savage.
I mean,
Shitty
I'm
on
not
people.
kidding. The episode is actually kind of about him, but you know, we'll get into it as
We're
we
gonna
go.
get canceled.
Nah, we're not gonna.
He
get
can't see this. He probably blocked us all already, so it's okay.
Exactly.
No
We're already
I just
pre-blocked.
made myself a Twitter so I can get canceled by Jason Schreier after this.
Exactly.
You can get blocked just right of him. You don't even need to like disagree with him. That's wrong. You don't,
Hey,
just,
Jason,
just follow
block.
some people. Exactly. Just follow some people.
Well, I remember. I think her name is Dia Lacina. She's one of the one who made those articles that were like defund the police with Mass Effect or something that one of those. And I've never interacted with her, and I've never even like done anything. And I think she blocked me because she blocked. Maybe she was like block all of the Colin Moriarty followers.
Yeah, that's they have a block list. Like this
Okay.
is something when they apparently there was kind of like I don't know if it was a Discord or like a Telegram channel or something that had like a kind of like the elite of I don't want to say like liberal video game journalism because such thing does not exist. There was like this group with all these jerks, and they passed around a block list of people that was basically like anyone that's ever interacted or follow like certain characters, and then you just get automatically blocked.
Well,
Yeah.
that sounds a little. How do you say that? What is that F word? Fascist? Fascism? Like it sounds something like somebody called Hitler would have done it back in the day.
You know who followed people? Hitler.
Who follow you? Who do that? Cancel them all to the concentration camps. Like what the hell, man? These people are the
Wow.
same shit. Like yeah.
You know, we have like 5 minutes of an episode, and we've already gone through so much darkness. It's
getting worse.
It's gonna get worse. Exactly, it's gonna get worse. So let's start light. Let's start with a report that came today, which I mean, you know, I was kind of thinking about the topic for the show today, but I didn't have like an in, you know, like how are we gonna begin the topic? And then Mr. Christian sent me the news that apparently there's a new Bloomberg report. In this case, I don't think it's controversial at all. It's just a report about an expansion for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which apparently has become a standalone game, and this game will be released, I don't know, like from here to the near future. And apparently it's codenamed Rift. The game will be smaller in scope, which kind of goes against the narrative of what we've heard of Ubisoft's plans regarding not only Assassin's Creed with Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is said to be like the next big thing for Assassin's Creed, where it's going to be like one game with 100 of hours of content or 100 periods of time that you can go. We don't really know any details, but we know, like with already the name, we know where they're going. I think they want to do something similar with Far Cry. So the news of this being like, as I said, smaller in scope, more akin to like what we've seen in the past, with the actual origins of Assassin's Creed. Apparently it's going to be focused on stealth gameplay, and it's also going to be starring Basim. I think that's a character from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I haven't played that game, so I don't really know that character. But it's apparently going to be a whole game in itself. Just like when they did Freedom Cry, which was another character from Black Flag who, he had his own game. And they've done things like this in the past. And, as I said, we kind of have this recurring thing in this show where we bash Ubisoft, and it comes from love that we used to have that is now turned into what it's turned into. But let's just speak about this first, and then we'll go from there. What do you think, Christian, about this new Assassin's Creed Rift?
Said it first. Someone's listening. Someone from the board of directors of both Sony and Ubisoft are listening to this podcast. So hi, I think this was kind of like a no-brainer kind of thing. Like they definitely need to focus or refocus some of their franchises in order to stay fresh. I think that I've said this like a few times. Like I don't see Ubisoft making, again, like this is probably kind of like my thing, like the next big thing. So they do have a pipeline. They do have a very good creative team, and they had the ability in the past to like ship really cool games. I think that the most important thing money wise is like they are understanding that the games that are selling the best are not necessarily the ones that have the most hours of content. That's not kind of like a big seller anymore, and we see it with games like open world games like, I don't know, like Ghost of Tsushima, and we're gonna see it again like with Horizon, and they need to ramp up their games to be in that scale. So they need to, like, ironically reduce the scope of the thing of their value proposition in order to be more meaningful. So this that they if a franchise can take some experimentation, it's definitely Assassin's Creed for sure, because it's super stable. It can go to different places, and I think if they put everything together and they make a good game, then cool. Like, kudos to them. They've been able to do that in the past and like revamp it. Like I think when Far Cry 3 came out, it was a banger. It had like a lot of filler now retrospectively, but still it was worth it. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, they've said that apparently Assassin's Creed Valhalla is like the biggest seller up until now in the Assassin's Creed franchise. And, for better or for worse, that kind of depends on your taste. But I do think that it's positive in terms of like the value proposition, as you're saying, like in terms of variety, in terms of like expanding that, because they are kind of falling into this trend of being the open world bloated game guys, and it's like, do you really want that for yourself? And so this variety, this in conjunction with the Splinter Cell remake that they're doing, and other things, could kind of be a help for that. What do you think, John?
Well, yeah, I think they found all of their games right now. They became a formulaic type of thing. Like it is the same type of game, just with a different coat of paint on top. Like if you see Far Cry, if you see Assassin's Creed, like they all have gone on the same route, like the same direction. Even Watch Dogs and all of these, the typical open world, Ubisoft open world that have influenced everything now with a lot of gameplay stuff. But yeah, no, I found it good. I think it's necessary for them just to try. I don't know. I don't know if this is some type of experiment. I don't know if this is them listening finally to the players, like the people who actually follow the Assassin's Creed IP since the beginning. Like I don't know what is this. Maybe some type of let's taste the water now. We're gonna make, of course, we're gonna go all the way in with our NFTs and our Assassin's Creed Infinity live service, blah blah blah. But let's do this as a backup project in case when we get like cancel or get hate out of all of this, we have this to fall on. And you know what? Like that's the weird thing. Like Ubisoft, even though I do have a weird, not a weird perception, but I don't have like the best. I don't really like Ubisoft games, to be honest. But they can create really good things. We have like this Phoenix Immortals Rising, I think it's
Immortals
called.
Phoenix
Yeah.
Rising.
But like they can make cool games. They can make things that are great if they actually want it, or if they allow their developers to actually create some cool stuff.
Did you guys play
And
that one? I don't remember.
I have not. It's on my watch list, or like in my not backlog yet. I haven't bought it, so it's in my watch list.
But
I
that's
do
a
want.
sad thing because like maybe that game is good, but like I really don't think like I'm already biased. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but I heard from a lot of people like, yeah, it's actually the best Ubisoft game in the past. I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, and that's kind of insane. Like that, the game that sold the least is what it's considered the best. So yeah, I mean, I do want to see what happens today. Like, I honestly would love. I haven't played any Assassin's Creed since Black Flag, and I recently bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla on a sale, and I really kind of enjoyed it. It's a bit more of the same as what you can expect from Ubisoft, but it's what I was putting earlier. Like, I haven't played in a long, long time any Ubisoft game, so for me this feels fresh. So it's a different approach, and maybe they just wanted to bring back all these players that left the franchise into a more centric or not linear, because I don't think Assassin's Creed has even been a linear experience, but a more focused experience, a more control, not that much choice and stuff. And I do think that the writer of this game is going to be the same guy who brought Revelations, Assassin's Creed Revelations, I think. I don't know his name, I don't remember, but I saw it on a Twitter, because now I'm a Twitter gang, so I can do that. So yeah, I if that's true and that's real, I think it's a nice possibility. I'm hopeful. Let's say that we can see a revival of the core Assassin's Creed. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree because I remember back when we did this podcast in Spanish, you and I, when Assassin's Creed Valhalla
yeah.
was announced, yeah, that was like a couple years ago. Um, they kind of the messaging around the size of the game was initially that the game was going to be smaller than Odyssey. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, this is good because they're not going for the always bigger, always better kind of thing. And then they immediately, like a couple days later, said like, no, 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 this is actually bigger. And it's like, oh my god, why? So this to me is already good news again, unless in 2 days from now, they're like, no, 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 Assassin's Creed Rift is again
The
like
problem is,
super.
and I think this that has been discussed on the podcast a lot of times. Like, it's the oversaturation of open world.
Yeah,
Like, now open world it's a feature. Like, oh, I have the biggest open world. It's a feature of my game. It's like and that shouldn't be. Like, I don't care
That
about
ends this month
exactly.
with the Elden Ring.
True. That is true. Let's see
After
what happens
that,
there.
brother, we're gonna get Breath of the Wild clones everywhere. That's what's gonna happen.
For sure, and that's kind of sad, but it is a thing. Like, people wanted like open world games because like all the technological jump that we had from generation to generation allow us to have. It's always like this on the gamer thing. I remember even when I was a kid, even playing like the first, not open world, but like fully 3D games. Like, oh, I wish I could reach that mountain in the end of the whatever of the thing. I wish I can, and that it's a thing. I think everybody that comes from that generation wants. Like, oh, I would love to explore everything. Then Skyrim pushed the limit a bit more, and then they push a little, and now it's such a thing that you say like, but why? I don't really need that much. I don't have it. I think we got older and we don't have the time to do this, and we're like, I don't have the time to go to that mountain anymore.
I
Please,
do
like,
like
stop it.
some games. I unironically spend a shitload of time. Like for example, in Ghost of Tsushima, I was just having a blast, just like chasing foxes and just like climbing places to get bandanas. Like, I think that shit is fun, and And unapologetically, we've been playing like a gazillion hours of Sea of Thieves, where you're just kind of like doing the same thing over and over again, but
True.
it's just more dynamic. The
It
thing
depends
is
on the
like
game, I think. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pretty exhausting in this game to like get the same uneventful progress done by repeating the same things with
Yeah.
not very clever designs. And I think that's a cool thing that Far Cry 3 had. It's like the outposts that you had to like basically conquer, they were fun. Like they were, each one was kind of like
And
a little bit
it
dynamic.
was a new idea for
And
that
it
game,
was
right?
new. It was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is fun. Even climbing the towers was like, wow, this is kind of original.
Yeah.
Like you're climbing,
And then 10 other games copied the towers, and we hate
yeah.
them now.
And then it's like you see the tower. It's like, let me guess what's gonna happen when I climb this shit.
Yes,
Imagine
exactly.
what's gonna happen. What dynamic? Like it's just being repeated. Like we've done it like a gazillion times. And if they just apply a twist to that, then I think that would be cool. So, and the same thing for stealth. Like stealth is pretty fucking boring as a mechanic because like when you get caught, you can't be stealth. Like you can't be stealth anymore. Like that's one of the things that I had with the original Metal Gears. Like if you got caught, there was no like easy way of like going back into hiding. It's like what you're gonna unsee a military operative inside your base.
Yeah,
It's,
you're like gonna pretend. Oh, they left. It's fine.
yeah.
Everything's fine. Let me go back to my thing. Yeah.
That was very eventful. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go back to
well.
my
Bye bye.
back to my route. It's like, and they fixed that. I think in the last one, in the fifth one, it was like, yeah, like they go back to normal, but after like, they're in the middle of the desert, you get to run out, you get to defend yourself, it switches to action. And I think that Assassin's Creed is a game that it definitely had that problem. In the first one, it's like like the fighting was pretty streamlined. So if you got caught, then you had to fight. And then if you were fighting, I don't know if you remember like the first Assassin's Creed, but if you were fighting against like 4 people, GG. Like there was no way you could get out of that one. You got literally, like gangbanged. And what they did design wise was like, okay, this can be a stealth game, but also has to be an action game. And the thing with action games is that it's just you just go fuck it, let's kill everyone. And then they made that more and more fun. And then now you're a Viking and what the fuck, like a Viking hiding, like
Yeah, I've never seen like a stealth Viking. Like what?
yeah,
Yeah.
That
like,
goes,
boom,
yeah,
just like slamming it with an axe.
that goes totally in the face of what Vikings tactics actually were. Like shock and awe versus like
Yeah.
sneaking.
Yeah.
That
And it's
makes no
it's
sense.
a good point where you're saying that even in Ghost of Tsushima, like you have the two like routes to go. Like they can be stealth or you can be the full crazy samurai guy. I don't know about you, but I almost never went stealth route. I was like, no, I just want to do my whole cinematic Kurosawa moment, like do my little and cut everybody, like So you have the option, but honestly, it's not when you have such a good gameplay and you're so overpowered. Why would you choose the let me go here, let me and
Yeah,
yeah, okay, it's
and
fun,
also the whole dynamic was like, I don't know, like the stealth wasn't like that good as well because you had like kind of like same problem.
yeah,
Like,
you
whoop,
need to,
there
yeah,
might be a samurai there. Okay, gonna continue with my life.
yeah. That's really like if you want to do that a real good game, you need to make it like almost impossible for your character to be good in combat.
Yeah.
So he needs to rely 100% on stealth and being hidden.
Like the tail plague. What was the one? I forgot the name.
Plague Tale Innocence.
Plague Tale
Like,
Innocence. Yeah.
innocence. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you're like, well, this has to be stealth. I'm a kid
Yeah,
with
exactly.
another kid.
Exactly.
With
It's
an-
not, I'm gonna beat
No,
up.
yeah.
Even though you do some crazy things there that you're like what, but okay.
Yeah.
Another
yeah.
game that does this very well. I always gush about this game when I can. It's Desperados 3. I don't know if you've heard about that one, but it's made by Mimimi Games. I think it was in Game Pass until recently, which is a shame because I think it would be amazing for John to have tried it out. And that one, the way they circumvent this problem is that they have this very, like one of the buttons. I played it on PC, but I'm thinking that on the controller is the same. You have a button that's an autosave button. So the idea is that you autosave every couple of seconds, so that whenever you get caught, you just go back to the autosave. And there's not this thing where they saw you and then they unsaw you. Because if they see you, you're fucked, basically.
Yeah,
So-
it's like Shadow Tactics, which is from
It's
the same developer.
the same,
so-
yeah, exactly, the same team.
But it's the same. It's kind of weird. But it's like, oh, they saw me, and you're like, okay.
Let me rewind time. Like with
They saw me.
Exactly.
What? Feet? What? And then you just go and do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a really hard thing. We're going completely out of topic here now. We're going into
Yes.
gameplay designs of stealth games, but yeah, it's a really hard thing to create a really good stealth. And what will happen if you get caught? Like, yeah, I don't know. It will be a good discussion to have. Like, if I was a game developer, I like what how would you approach that problem, keeping the game, not breaking the whole game or not making it more complicated or more, because if it was for me, I would just make it extremely complicated. Oh, you failed, you got discovered. Hey man, there's gonna be a backup incoming, the whole gates are gonna shut down, and then you're fucked. How are you gonna enter now and
That
take
was
out that
Assassin's
outpost?
Creed to some extent, at the
Yeah,
beginning.
kind of. Yeah, it's true. Like I remember, like, yeah.
And you
So
had to run, which again, it's the other cool dynamic that game had. Like the game loop
yeah,
was like that. It's like, oh, there are like five people. Oh, okay, I gotta get out of here. I
yeah,
gotta like travel across the city and escape them with my skill.
and then
And
you
I think
jump
that
on the
was,
river and dead.
yeah, exactly. But I can't swim.
I can do
I
everything, but I
sink.
can't swim.
I sink to the bottom of the ocean if I jump into a river.
I jump from a tower 200
Uh,
meters tall, but I know I cannot swim. No,
but
again.
cool. I don't know,
So
but it's a good news.
Yeah,
We didn't know about this, right?
yeah, absolutely. And this may be another tangent, but I kind of want to bring this up, and it's how do you guys feel about these industry insiders leaking this sort of information? Because I have a very complicated opinion here, where it's like, okay,
yeah,
I know these people, like it's their jobs to report on these things, and when we're talking about these people, I'm including like Jeff Grubb, even Colin Moriarty recently, like he leaked the new Bioshock details. Jason Schreier is doing it yet again. How do you guys feel about this? Because I think that on the one hand, it is their jobs, but on the other hand, you're kind of ruining the surprise from a development team who's been working on this for probably
yeah.
many years. So it's like,
And
John, let's go with you first.
yeah, and how do you get that information? So, like, how do you have an industry insider on every development studio in every company? Like, are you telling me that what are you like? You have like some baggage from those people. Like, do you have photos of them cheating on their wives that you're like giving information of the game, or I publish? Like, how do you find all of this information? Like, that's a thing that I'm always super curious. Like, I don't know, I have never worked in a video game company, but for the companies that I have worked, and which are tech companies, really cannot talk about this type of things. Like, like leaks are always like tracked, and they can find. I mean, I'm not saying that they're like CIA type of organizations, but they more or less know. And how are who will like gladly risk their job or their position by leaking this information, like to some random, not random, but to somebody, so they can do an article about it. That's why I'm always like I always take these things with a grain of salt. Like, I do think that a lot of companies, they do this, leak things. It's kind of like a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Like they, we did it by mistake, sorry, but they're actually trying to do that type of thing. But I don't know. I find it kind of suspicious that, like, how do you know that many people willing to give you that information? What are you doing? Are you paying them? I like, honestly, like, what
Yeah,
is?
they probably are. Like that's the thing. Like you just need a few friends in the studio, and they can tell you what's going on. Because I think that the massive disconnect here of like treating this as any other industry. Like for example, if you treat it like let's take for example the politics. Like politics are like information that belongs to the public, but usually these are just like offices. Like you could just go to an office and be like, hey, um what do you like, what are you working on? Like you can go to the student and ask them that, and they can be like, we want to present this at a very special time, so we want to do it later. And that should be respected, because it's kind of like part of the gig. Like it's not like public knowledge. It's not like, hey everyone, we're gonna change the pension for old people, or like, hey, we're gonna change the budgets for healthcare. It's like, dude, these guys want to announce something they've been working on their own terms, because they, for financial reasons, marketing reasons. So I think it's completely unfair. And also more unfair than that, it's like a lot of these studios, they are more than willing to have a conversation. Like the fact that you're reporting on a game that just hasn't been announced, that like Assassin's Creed, like it's going to have hundreds of people working on that. You're really taking time away from someone that could be talking about a game that they're just going to release right now, and that probably no one cares as much. But you could be using the time with people that actually want to talk to you, have interesting conversations, and talk with creators that actually are really good at verbalizing their artistic goals. So it's weird. Like, why doxing these people? And I think that when it comes to scoops, I think that one of the topics that we had was the one of about Bend Studio, the creators of Days Gone, and it's a tricky one because that game got canceled. Like, there's not going to be a Days Gone 2 made by Bend Studios and that's the same team. And when you see the context, it can be portrayed as like they had no idea what they were doing. The game flopped, and that wasn't true. Like, the game, it took a shitload of time to make. It wasn't as polished, but it was quite a banger. And yeah, that's it. And it's a job. Like, they've been working on that for 7 years. Like, it didn't get canceled. Like, it didn't get a sequel. It would have been cool to do one, but like, I think that everyone's like okay with that. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good that you kind of segue into that, because that was actually, of course, as you can all see, the next part on the docket. And this to me kind of questions a little bit, I'm sorry, but Jason Schreier's credibility, because that report, I remember that back in the Spanish NGXP days, John and I did an episode on that whole report that Jason Schreier did, about the Sony Bend thing, which was also linked to the Sony Visual Arts Group thing, where I don't know if you guys remember, there were like these two groups within Sony that had been like, one had been reassigned to the Last of Us remake, and then Sony Bend had been reassigned supposedly to the new Uncharted, which is in the works, and that kind of also got leaked, what's the word, collaterally there. And so initially, the report was that Sony Bend wanted to make Days Gone 2. It was not greenlit. It was canceled. And then they were like against their will, because of Sony's like money-hungering will to get new blockbusters and everything. And Naughty Dog is the only team that they valued. That like Sony Bend was like, obligated to work on this Uncharted thing. And recently Jeff Ross had some public appearances, like both in David Jaffe's and show, and also in Colin Moriarty's Sacred Symbols Plus, because he had said something like, Ghost of Tsushima is being celebrated because it's sold 8 million copies. Days Gone has sold something similar to that, and we only got flack from our bosses. So, that kind of spiraled this whole thing. And when talking about this specific report of the obligation to Naughty Dog and the new Uncharted, Jeff Ross flat out said in both shows that was not true. That they were actually, that it's not only like a very common thing to do within the Sony family to like share talent, especially when it's talent that's not doing anything, which was happening at the time. With other studios, he even said that they shared like assets with Kojima Productions, which is not even a Sony first party studio. And it's like, that just shows to me the bias in Jason Schreier's intent, right? Of him trying to make these companies look in a certain sort of way, and
also him labeling the work of someone lesser or punished because they have to work on a Uncharted sequel. And it's like, well, that's what your way of seeing it, but it's a job. Like, it's, in the end, you're a developer working for, you're a video game developer working for a studio, and the studio has to respect like the agreements with the publisher, and they have projects, and in the end, as long as you're adding value to the team, that's your job. Your job is not to be a Days Gone developer. I mean, obviously it generates a sense of belonging and whatnot, but like, these people are just kind of like working there, and like, it's by no means that's a punishment that you get to help another team build one of the best and biggest IPs in the world. You actually, this is something that that report completely omits, and it shows kind of like an intentional lack of, like, an intentional bias. The most important thing that you can do as a AAA video game developers is ship a game. If you don't get the game out there, if the game does not exist, there are people that they work for 5 years in a game, and then the game is not released, and then they don't have it in their backlog, and it's shit for your career. That's why a lot of people leave the studio once the game is released, because they're like, okay, I already shipped that. Now I gotta go. I'm on the credits, and now I get to roll. And the fact that you get to support other team be in the credits, participate just by doing like short stint is really cool and it's beneficial for your career. Like so it's by no means a punishment. You're gonna be able to ship a game and work in a great project and work with another team and not invest relocation. This is even like the better part. You're working for Ben Studio, working on Days Gone, which is kind of like a huge bet, and the project has been going for a while. And then you get moved to work like in a couple of years for to help out Naughty Dog. This is great because you get to work with another team, you get to work with some people, you get more exposure, and you expand your network, and you work in two cool games at the same time by being in the same city without moving to another place in the world. Like it's just ridiculous to think like that a company as big as Sony or even PlayStation, like the brand itself, operates in these terms of like, now I'm gonna punish them. It's like, no, there's too much money, there's too many people. Does not work that way. I mean, they obviously lost the trust for making Days Gone 2, which is kind of sad, but also it seemed like it was a struggle to actually ship that. So maybe it was for the best. But it wasn't like that bad because Jeff is now coming back to PlayStation. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, that's like something that could very well happen. You know, the Jeff coming back. That would be really cool. John, what do you think?
Out of all of these things, my question is like, how toxic is the environment in Kotaku? Like, how toxic is the environment in Bloomberg? Like, is that how you guys really work there? If this is my job and I don't share it with anybody, and anybody who wants is trying to steal my like I don't know. That's a joke, but like it is kind of weird. Like when I read this type of things, I did said it yesterday on the group that we have. Like I did do think that Jason Schreier found a way to be relevant, that he uncovered, so to speak, some really shitty things that have been happening in some studios and in some companies, and that made him relevant. So now he's trying, well, cloud chasing. He's trying to still be viral and relevant and be out there, and then, hey, it's try to modify the information or trying to, I'm not saying like giving fake information or like made out information, but just wording it in a way that it's, well, first of all, damaging to some people, and second of all, in your benefit to give you more tweets or more,
Well,
more,
and
you know,
he's warping the narrative to make it look like it's something different. Like,
yeah,
oh,
and
look
that's
at,
not journalism.
yeah,
That's just being a crazy person on the internet. And
yeah.
sadly, that's what a lot of journalism has become nowadays, because you need clicks to survive.
And then when something actually bad that happens, like I don't know, like the Blizzard allegations, it's like Blizzard allegations are bad not because it's like a video game news. It's like they're just bad. They're
Yeah.
super bad. Like it's a crime. Like it was a systematic industrial abuse that was happening, corporate abuse that was happening in that place. And if you could report it there, not even like if you're in Kotaku, like that could be reported anywhere. Like, whoa, there's been some corporate, abuse allegations and toxic behavior, and it's something that escapes the industry. But somehow Kotaku is like, oh, we're gonna report on this, and it's like, well, everyone should report on that. Like, it's not obviously like there are things that could be video game culture related, but at the same time, it's like it's not about that's not like about video games.
Hmm.
It's like if
Yeah, it's a
it's
corporate, like a violation of like human rights, and look, that's a bit
it's a bit too
intense, but
much,
like
but it's a criminal
it's
it's
a
a
bit too much,
criminal
but it's like,
investigation. It's a criminal
yeah,
investigation.
exactly. You're violating workers' rights
Yeah.
pretty much, and that's out of video game industry. That's a thing that should be looked at in a government or like a more official way than
Yeah.
just some video game news reporting on it.
And it's the same thing. I mean, making a game is really hard, and the people involved in making a game probably have really good. They're talented in a way, but they're not talented in another way that is like handling people and stuff like that. And I think that was what I found cool about, like about like when the report about like Ken Levine and how he was so chaotic while making Bioshock. It's like, yeah, but they made Bioshock. Like I don't. It's not like I don't give a shit. Like if someone had a bad time, like I'm sorry, but the fact that Bioshock is such a good game. apparently it's not because Ken Levine is like the best people manager in the world. It's because he knew he had a vision and he executed it, which
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's
And
kind of weird.
also with the Ken Levine thing, which is also reported by
Mhm.
Jason Schreier, of course, just so anybody doesn't know, um, it's been known in the industry for perhaps a decade or so that he's difficult to work with. So I'm not saying that that excuses the behavior, because working with somebody like that is most certainly annoying and most certainly uncomfortable, or whatever you want to say. But it's known, like that was news to nobody. When that report came out, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know. It's like,
And,
okay.
and it can be like, and that's probably the case if you want to make like something incredibly challenging. You need to find someone that has a vision, and if that vision is unique, then probably you're gonna have to build things around to make it work. Like there's gonna be a struggle, but if the final product is good and you're willing to make the effort, it's gonna be
Yeah.
worth it. And also, like, could it was it bad? It's like, well, how bad was it? Like, it's not, honestly, like, it's not my problem, unless it's not my problem at all. Like, if someone thinks that he did like something ethically wrong, or like even like legally wrong, then and then yeah, they should be investigated by the authorities. But the fact that also it's reported by him within this narrative that it's always seems to be kind of like biased. It's like, I don't even know if I can believe that. Like, probably, yeah, maybe the guy was a dick, but the game was good, you know. And also, like, I
Yeah.
always say this, like, being a video game developer is not a human right. If you don't like it there, then find a job somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
it's what
it
I said. Like
is
he
true.
found that niche that he's good at it, and he's gonna try to turn everything into that type of information. And it's kind of it is just a really weird thing to do, in my opinion. Like, hey, do report on thing. Not everything has to be drama. Anything has to be terrible. Like I was reading about this guy from 343 Industries.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, that was
How's his name?
savage.
That was
Andrew
horrible, man.
Yee, I think is his name. Andrew or
Yeah, he just said he just said that working with them was hard.
yeah,
And he's an artist and he's a freelancer,
yeah.
and that got completely misrepresented. And then
Yeah, he
they
just say like it was not like there was not crunching me. He said as an artist, sometimes I get, and that's something I can relate as a photographer, and I guess one as a video editor as well. Sometimes you get hooked into that vibe, you get into that zone, and you are working that you forget about hours. You forget about your lunchtime. You are putting 16 hours per day and stuff. So that the fact that that can happen to a lot of people, and then that gets misrepresented into like somebody's making you work that much.
and
It's
also
it's
something that David Jaffe said, like, I think it was I think it was actually in a Colin Moriarty interview. It's like, that's how winning gets done. It's just like that. Like, it's if it's sustainable, if you can do it, and like you have to like pour your soul into it, then you got to do it. you know Obviously, if you can't, you shouldn't. Obviously, if it's not sustainable, if you don't have what it takes, you shouldn't. Obviously, if it's not worth it, you shouldn't. But like, you don't know that, and that's the tricky part. Like, but sometimes it's like, let's go, let's fucking. No one's telling Cristiano Ronaldo, like, right now, like, oh, don't train too much. But probably were people telling him like, hey, maybe you're training too much, and not from a physiotherapist point of view, but maybe he was the one that made the call that I'm gonna, like, not only use the talent I have, but also like inject a level of discipline and effort. And I think that it was also like Bruce, the director of Uncharted, like back in the day, he made a tweet like, I
Bruce. Oh, yeah.
I
Let's look for
forgot
his
I
name.
forgot
Yeah.
his name. Let me just go over, like, but he basically, um was it Bruce?
Straley.
Bruce
Bruce
Straley, yeah,
Straley.
yeah. He said something like, "Man, I think like studios today, like, they ship a game that is just like 40 hours, and back in the day we did Uncharted 2 and had multiplayer and 8 game modes and like a 40 levels." And then people were like, well, like, people were like, bringing that tweet back once the crunch allegations, which were also false for Naughty Dog. Like, that's the other one. Like, he also, like, basically, like, there was this reporter that said, Jason made me report aggressively on the story and the leads that we have on Naughty Dog about crunch time. And he asked Neil Druckmann for forgiveness, and Neil Druckmann was like, "It's okay, bro. I know you're not the asshole in the story." Um, And people were like trying to drag Bruce for that tweet, and it's like, dude, if people were on board, if they had fun, and they even on top of that made Uncharted 2, just shut the fuck up. Obviously, if you don't ship anything and the game sucks and no one makes money, yeah, it sucks. But if you ship Uncharted 2 as a video game developer, you reached peak, the peak of your career to some
Yeah.
extent, unless you work on Uncharted 4. but
Yeah.
that's it. Like that was that it was that good. Like why would people regret that? And also, it's your
Yeah.
fucking problem if you can't have. If it's like, oh, I lost my wife because we're working on Uncharted 2. It's like, well, not my fucking problem, man. Like, I don't know. I have empathy of people like they can make that balance, but it's up to them.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, yeah, I am a big believer of personal responsibility at the end of the day, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, there are cases. I think it's the minority of cases where it's kind of like really, like, what's the word? Like implanted upon them. Not implanted is not the word. Like imposed. Yeah,
Impose,
imposed
yeah.
upon them, and maybe there are injustices,
No,
but
and that's shitty.
that's not how it works
And some
in
games don't
general.
really need that. Like I think that it
Yeah,
was Hearthstone's director, Ixar. He was telling like he's only worked overtime twice, and it was because he like stayed late in the office one day, another time because they had kind of like some back and forth with some ideas. Um, and that's okay because no one's gonna like you know lose their shit if a Hearthstone card is not that good. I mean, I take that back. Yes, they will. But like, if it's okay, if you take a couple more days on getting something in Hearthstone right or whatnot. Like I don't. And also, it's backed by Blister. And like, if you need more resources in the company on that side, then yeah, bring people in. But like in other cases, it's like you either pull that off or you were toast or you were not gonna be at the top of your game.
yeah, absolutely. So I think that the last point that I wanted to touch upon here was something that kind of Christian alluded to, which is now that we know, I mean, we've known a little bit about Jason's agenda, just to so to speak, because we see like this connecting thread between most of his reports. However, this connecting thread is like workers' rights, unionization, which we can have a conversation about that maybe another time because that would be like a whole episode. But like that's neither good nor bad. It's just like an agenda, which I think that I can respect that as long as he kind of deals with the facts as facts.
But again, it's
And
ridiculous because it's like, oh, these people need to unionize. It's like, who needs to unionize? Like the
yeah,
most privileged people in the planet.
exactly. I mean that's totally valid, and yeah, I would love to have that conversation. But so the thing here is that like the whole Sony Bend thing not being obligated, even though he kind of said they did, is not really like horrible in terms of like the grand scheme of things. However, it does show his bias and his kind of manipulating of the facts.
Reliability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I the first thing I think when I read or I come across these things is I've read like a ton of reports. Like for example, he did a report on the Anthem development where it was like the game was not even supposed to be called Anthem, and then they didn't know what the game was up until a certain point, and people were like locking themselves in empty boardrooms and crying because of the whole crunch. How can I believe that wholly now? Because at the time I totally bought it. I totally ate it up. Now I'm like, was all that even wholly true? I don't even know. That's something that I think is valid to say. What do you guys think about that? Let's start with John this time.
I don't know. It is hard because that's the problem with everything going on. Like it is so hard nowadays, at least for me, to believe journalists, video game journalists, or yes, no, let's go with journalists in general. Like because everybody it's cited on some point. It's like there's no impartial opinions or impartial. Just give me the news, give me the report as it is. Don't put your flair or your ideas on it. Just give me the information raw, and then I can make my own assumptions or opinions about it, and that's what I on the core I feel like journalism should be. It's not you trying like you're not an opinion type of show or like a like a react YouTube channel or something. No, no, you need to just give me the information that is available plain and in a matter that I can read and understand. So now seeing all of this happening and like this weird because I don't know if I'm gonna call it like a war or like this thing that exists between the gamers and the journalist gamers, like there's is there this fight, like this controversy. I don't know, like should we believe these people are all a bunch of liberal crybabies that are fighting for things not related to what we care, which is yeah, it's like I think I told Christian the other day, it's like these people seems to be people who didn't actually made it to work in an actual like newspaper or like a news organization, and then they got backhanded into following into the video game industry. Not that I'm saying that the industry, video game industry, is like a lower tier on journalism, but it is not what you wanted, for example. So you're trying to push that disinformation on it. So it is really hard to believe, or it's really hard to actually know what's going on, and who do I believe? Like because that's the problem. These people who make all this and their job is reporting on this, or like I don't know, a bunch of people who can say, "Hey, I work for Ubisoft and I never see this happen," or I work for Blizzard and I never was part of any of these type of things. So it's really hard to for me at
It
least
is.
to know what is it true and what is not. And these people are actually being exploited. These people are actually being taken advantage of. Well, now we know with Activision and Blizzard that in fact it is. If we're not, there would not be like an open investigation. But
Small asterisk here. Wasn't there like a mini controversy on the fact that Jason never reported on the Activision thing, and he kind of knew
I,
about it or something like that?
Yeah, yeah,
I
that
don't know.
definitely
Yeah,
happened. Some people were thinking that he was just like waiting on. I mean, that's the
Okay.
only thing. Like this, it's pretty easy to say, "Hey, the people from Sony Bend got wrecked because they're a bunch of bitches." Like that has no repercussions. But if you blow up the lead on sexual assault allegations and shit like that,
that
then
you can
then
get
you
into
better
legal. Yeah.
be a good journalist. you know
And have good lawyers too, because Activision
exactly.
will probably try
Yeah,
to take you down with
they're
that.
gonna be
So
like, "Excuse
Yeah.
me." So I think
yeah,
it's kind of like, but also like he never actively. Some people were saying like he was holding that against them or shit like that.
Mm,
Which
okay.
again,
or
like
he's just a keyboard warrior. He's
it's a
somebody that
narrative that he built around himself. Like if he sets everything kind of like this crusade for justice, obviously he's gonna be mischaracterized and being like in. But my opinion regarding those things is like people crying somewhere. I work in some of the most inclusive and open companies in the world, and some people have like really bad days, and some people like really struggle a lot, and sometimes projects they go to shit. And I'm pretty sure that people in Anthem they don't want to have in their bags that, oh, I'm a failure, or like, oh, it sucked. Like, it really takes a toll, because then you can't really progress professionally. Like it's almost as if it's almost as on shipping a game. Like I worked on Anthem, it's like, well, you shouldn't be working on that, to begin with. So it's a bit tricky, and I think that it's really hard to judge, because also it's not like this are like camping trips, like, oh, this happened on 2 weeks. No, this takes years to ship a game. So it's like, when was this bad? How long was the crunch time? How often? Why was there crunch time? Was it justified? Not that it has to be justified, but was there something the company should have done better? And in the end, it's sad that the game wasn't even that good, because then those people kind of like did that for nothing. So
yeah. And there's another thing that I have never seen being touched. Like yeah, there's overtime or like they're asked you to work longer. But has that been compensated? Have you been paid for this hour? Do you agree on these hours? I honestly, well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know the U.S. Work laws or anything, but I don't think it will be legal for a company to force you to work
It's not
more.
legal. It's not
I don't
legal.
Like,
think so, but like you do it either way. Like that's the other
yeah, you
thing.
do it anywhere, but you are allowed to say
Like
no, I
yeah,
can't.
no, they,
Like,
they are allowed to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to another company to some extent, but it does take a toll. And I think that to some extent you could be like, oof. I mean, I'm guessing like you could report something like, hey, the development of this game was a bit accidental. It was like, it wasn't fun. The company was in a bad place, and that's okay. Like, it's some companies are in a bad place, and that's not illegal. That's not evil. Like,
Yeah,
even the biggest companies in the world could burn so much money that the valuation of the company goes down, and like it's not like they heal back, as if they
yeah,
were wounded. It's like it can crunch to the point, like it could crush itself to the point of like not being able to recover, and then they just get bought, like it happened with THQ. Like THQ, like they still exist as a brand. They still have their IPs. Some games are still being made, but that collapsed. Most likely the sheer amount of people that was working there, like, it's now somewhere else, even though those games are still being in development.
yeah. And another thing that I found curious is like, how is that not report on like indie companies, like indie developers? Like those people crunch even harder, I think, that a lot of these AAA companies, because they really the thing depends on there.
They
It's not like
dedicate their lives to it.
exactly.
Stardew
I
Valley.
feel
Remember?
Stardew Valley
Yeah.
or like Hyper like Drifter, like Hard Machine Studios. I remember seeing
Super
a
Meat
documentary
Boy.
about
I
them.
mean, there's like a gazillion of examples of, like, I think it was like
Game the movie.
the
Yep.
indie game developer movie, and it had like fast and like that, and they talked about kind of like what these were people were doing, and they asked for a mortgage to build a game, and they did a game that was successful. But if they were not able to ship it in time, they would just go broke. Like,
Exactly, and
that's hardcore. Like,
yeah,
it's not like, what are you going to tell these people? Like, obviously it's hard. It's
yeah,
super comfortable to demand this out of Blizzard, and it's okay to demand that. But I also think that you can demand that as a kind of like as a legion, like as a bunch of people that, like, if all the lead developers in World of Warcraft are like, hey, no more crunch is over. Like, who are you gonna bring? Where are the other lead developers in World
yeah.
of Warcraft?
And how much is like obligatory crunch on how much, because that's the thing, like again, coming back to the indie subject, like these people from Hard Machine, I did something like the previous 2 weeks before the launch of Hyper Like Drifter, they were pretty much living in the studio. I'm talking like 20-hour shift, like they were sleeping on the kitchen, like that. Not because that's the thing, this is passionate people. Nobody drops into game development just because I
My
didn't know
dad
what to do
made
with
me.
my life, and I'm just gonna I take a job in McDonald's. I'm gonna be a game developer. Like that doesn't happen.
And
You
if
go
they
into
do it, it's
this
their fucking problem. Like, probably it's not healthy.
exactly, but
But yeah,
it's a passion thing. People,
yeah.
I think those a lot of the crunch gets confused with people being extremely passionate into the project that they've been working for years, and now it's like, hey, we really need to make this deadline. I really want to put this game out, so I'm gonna like push myself harder and harder to make it happen. So it's now it's a balance. It's like how much it was required from them, how much was willingly them doing this type of job. And I do cannot imagine that there was some things, because if everybody's in that mood and suddenly imagine that the three of us make a game and we're working, our publish date is in 2 weeks, and then I suddenly I'm gonna say, nah, I'm tired, guys. I'm gonna go take some holidays out back there in Spain. I'm gonna go to the beach. See you guys. That will probably will create this thing like we could to you guys like what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, obviously it's kind of like a
And
collective thing as well. Like,
exactly.
probably
So
probably it was just a bad environment, but it can
yeah,
be reported in a way that is constructive, that
exactly.
that is not antagonistic. Like, there's not like evil people, because a lot of people, like, their job is to make the studio work. And like, if people leave, if you have like a high churn of developers, if you have a bad reputation in the industry, like, you're not gonna keep making good games.
Yeah, it's gonna be harder for you, and as a manager, it takes a toll. And from me being a manager at some point in my life, it is hard. You need to push people sometimes. You need to be there and like and it's not like I push people and then I go home on my own. No, you're there with them. You are there. You want to go home. Everybody's tired, but you need to push them because sometimes that's what is required of the job or that project in particular. So hopefully these people get compensated with the reward that the game was a success or in other ways. But it's some sacrifices that it has to do when you work in a company. Sometimes it happens, and I don't think that's a isolated type of thing that only happen on video game industry. Is because they're not unionized or because this or because that. No, I think it's a company thing. Sometimes you need to work a bit more than what you expected, and that's completely normal. Not saying that it's fine, but sometimes it's happened. So it is,
It is what it
yeah,
is.
it is what it is, and it's shitty, but it is what it is, and you cannot really, because in the end you're messing people's life, you're messing people's reputations that probably they were not doing things the way that you're portraying in your report, in your, yeah, in your report or anything. And like you can, yeah, you can. I don't know 100% the story of the this guy from 343 Industries, like this artist guy, but I do kind of knew that that guy went into like a massive panic attack moments, and a lot of stress after all of these journalists put out his misinterpreted uh, information. Like, you create a toll on this person, you can put this person's life at risk. That guy, I mean, luckily he didn't, but that guy could have you don't know this guy.
Put
Maybe
it.
he has some mental, and he
Probably
just jumped out of a
killed
window.
himself.
Yeah, you don't know that. And
Could
then
happen.
what are you gonna do? Like, haha, no, but it's okay. No, it's like you cannot. It's cloud chasing. For me, that's cloud chasing, and it's just doing this type of thing just to make me more relevant or having more clicks or create something viral. And that should not be the reason why are you reporting or working in journalism. No, you just report information, plain and like to the point. Like, no opinions, no trying to, hey, look at this, try to get some sympathy or some anger to some. No, no, you report and people need to make their own opinions, and that's it. And I do think this Jason Schreier person, it's really, I mean, that guy blocks people on Twitter because they don't agree with him, and that for me it's already the biggest point. Like, you shouldn't be a journalist then, because how do you expect to establish a conversation and start like being a public personality speaking about this if you don't really want to hear the other side of the people who doesn't think the same as you? That's again, it's that little word with F that we spoke in the beginning. It's a bit like crazy. You cannot, you cannot be this. It's not your job. Your job is to enter debates, talk, get to conclusions, listen to opinions, and make those opinions heard too, because you need to look both sides of the coin. So yeah, it is hard. It's a really shitty situation for journalism all over, not only on video game, but I think in every type of industry or medium. It's a really delicate time. And yeah, sadly for us, we need to make more research and more reading about, and try to get to our own conclusions, because the people who should give us that they're not doing it, and it's pretty fucked.
It is pretty fucked. So, are we ready to move on to the last part of the show? Or is there
Yeah, when
something
we
else?
talk about how long we've been playing Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, the Sea of Thieves part of the show. It's going to be called the last part of the show. And, I don't really have much to say. I'm still playing Persona 5, just getting that out of the way. I'm like almost 100 hours in, nearing the end. And I think that maybe for next week, I'll be done with it. But, that could extend itself. I don't really know. Japanese games have this good habit of like making you think you're towards the end and then just dumping for 40 more hours on you, which I mean, whatever.
There's
But
always a final boss.
There's
not
always
the final boss.
that is exactly. But before we go to that, I would just like to recommend a couple of websites that I do think report on the news and don't add any unnecessary fluff. I would say VGC, Video Games Chronicle, is really good. Push Square is really good if you're looking for PlayStation-centric news. Eurogamer, I found it really good as well. And, just find whatever news outlet, podcaster you agree
YouTuber.
with, and
Yeah.
take it from there, because that's also dependent on your own views and your own personality and whatever.
But
But
do
yeah,
yourself a favor and look at the other side of the coin. That's always
Exactly.
my thing. Like, I'm sorry, coming from such a divided country that we all come from.
Yeah,
And that was a thing that I always did. Like, just read this side, but let me read what people on the other side are saying, and then make your own conclusion. And I think, because you kind of just goes, yeah, man, these people are going to try to brainwash you to be all believing in what they believe, and that.
And it's so good to just talk about games and how they're
Yeah.
made.
absolutely. And just before we go, I know I'm kind of like elongating this a lot, but sometimes these articles have very incendiary titles, and then you read the article, and it's kind of reasonable. So that is also something that needs to be said. Like, I mean, I think it happened with the The Sifu one, maybe. I mean, that one is like this is made only by white developers,
And
and
it
then
was
when you
not.
read the, well, true, but
There's some Chinese developers working.
There's
Yeah,
some people
like-
that have like, I mean, still, who gives a fuck? Like, but
Yeah.
like,
yeah, I agree.
what
But-
are you, like a Nazi, like a literal Nazi that you're like, oof, only white people? It's like, how do you know? Like, I mean, there's a bunch of French people, of course, but like, who gives a, also like, I don't know.
The only problem with that thing is that there is French people working on it. No, it's not if they're white or not. It's just French people. Like, come on, that's
Exactly.
the problem there.
But yeah, what I mean is when you read an title and you're offended, just read a little bit more and see if that's
Yeah.
really the case.
Turn
And-
the
Yeah, exactly. Throw a bucket of ice water on your head so that you'll feel a little bit better. So I said what I had to say about games. I'm deeply invested in Persona. I'm gonna finish it probably soon. How are you guys faring with your games?
I played Observation.
How do you
It
think?
was really, really fun. Have you guys played it?
I finished it on Game Pass like a couple of years ago.
I was on Game
I'm
Pass.
playing it.
It was on Game Pass, but I think before you even had the Xbox. So
Okay, like long time ago. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a bit clunky at sometimes. Like I wasn't like really able to like follow exactly where I needed to go, but like when it worked really well. So that was cool. I can recommend it. I'm still playing. Well, this is the jumpy thing of like. Are you playing something else, John?
Yeah, well, the whole insanity of February started, and you remember last week that I said, no, I'm just gonna play probably Horizon, and I'm gonna play Elden Ring. Well, no, I bought everything. We bought everything pretty
Everything.
much. Everything that has been coming out. So
Because
yeah,
we've
we
been playing pretty much the same game, so it can be kind of like a shared experience, I think now.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I did bought Observation as well because I really wanted to play that game, and I played for like 2 hours. Really caught my attention. I do think the story is gonna be really, really good. But it's just too much going on right now on video game on my life, and I don't know how to tackle this. I normally play one game at a time. Now I'm playing
Not
like six.
anymore.
Not
It's
anymore.
all Carlos's fault.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
Carlos.
yeah.
I'll take some credit
and
because I was the
should
one
take
pushing
ones,
for
yeah.
Sea of Thieves. So that was
Yeah.
the most disruptive one. I would
And
say.
I'm the one who put out there chorus and
However,
Observation.
Sea of Thieves doesn't necessarily it doesn't need an investment. Like you already have Game Pass, you already have it.
No, well, it doesn't.
Well,
but we
man.
already spend more on Sea of Thieves than we spent in the other games. So I don't
That
know.
is true. I think I dropped
True.
already like 50, 60 euros on that game. So,
Oh my
so it's
God.
kind of insane. But yeah, no, I started Dying Light. I've been playing a bit of Dying Light. Actually, I played way too much Dying Light last night. I was not expecting me to do that. I was there for like 7 hours. I surprisingly, I'm enjoying that game quite a bit. Like it is really good. I think I've been lucky. I haven't seen, at least playing solo, I haven't noticed that much issues or like bugs or like frame drops or not at all. Actually, I think most of the issues that I've seen with the game is when we are on a person co-op type of session. That
Which makes
everything goes
sense.
a bit insane. It makes sense as well. Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous how
Yeah.
unbalanced that game is when you do co-op.
For 4 people, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just too.
Is it like
it's
super
insanity.
easy? Like it's super
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's super easy, but it's super fun. So that,
The
that kind of
bosses-
balances itself. There, so.
We have like there are bosses in the game, so you actually get to. If you're alone, it's a bit tricky because it's like resource management and the combat and whatnot. But if you're with 4 people, you just kind of like stagger lock the guy and then you fucking kill it. And
Just imagine this scene, like you are in a type of like cutscene, like in-game cutscene that the guys start speaking. You're in the first person, and suddenly the conversation ends. It's like let's fight, and then you divide into 4 people, all looking the same with a bunch of like guns and bats and like flaming shits, and then you just beat the living crap out of the person in front of you. It is insanity. It's one of the most fun things that I've been doing this year. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm normally a big hater of open world Fed Quest,
Zombie
Fed
games.
Quest, zombie games. And I am actually kind of enjoying. Like I play on my own, and I'm quite surprised at how different the game is. It's like 2 games in one when you play co-op and when you play alone.
But it's super fun. I would say that when you're in
is
a
really
single
fun,
player, like you have a bunch of like resources and the crafting and everything's cool. The story's duck shit. Like the story's so bad.
yeah, the stories at least so far is terrible.
It's
I don't
terrible,
think.
and people say that it gets worse at the end. So I can only imagine.
Okay,
It's just
man.
nothing.
But in the end,
because they
Yeah.
need to justify kind of like this crazy world building and roles and factions and whatnot. So it goes over the top on that. Like it's definitely not The Last of Us when it comes to like
Yeah. But I
faction
don't
and
think nobody
character
was
building.
expecting that type of thing. I was expecting just a sandbox type of fun game where I have like a machete that is a flamethrower and like a taser at the same time, and I'm
And the
just
parkour
shooting.
is super fun as well.
And the parkour, and you just jump and do the fly kick to people, which is the most broken
Fly kick.
mechanic in the game. You can honestly, if you
Which one? The
haven't.
one that you stun one and then you jump on top of them?
No, you can unlock one, which I think was in the first one, that you just jump and then you like
Ah,
with
you
your
just kick
legs,
them. Okay.
and
Dude,
that's so broken. It's so
in the
broken.
first
You can
one,
kill anybody.
in the first one, I remember I used that everywhere, and it was so funny because
It
you would
is amazing.
you would they would just ragdoll like
Yeah.
Like
was
the whole anything that could be scary about the game gets demolished by that thing. Like,
And
oh,
there's
look
a
at this
glider.
big boss coming. I'm just gonna go and hit him.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
And there's a
what?
glider too.
There's a glider, of course. It's an open world. We have a glider. We have towers. We have the whole shebang.
It's
But
cool.
yeah, it's pretty fun, and I just saw that they're gonna add some new content, which I'm kind of excited for it. But
They
yeah,
s-
I've been enjoying this game for
Juan-
being an indie game. Man, it's
Juan, you
amazing.
only been playing Persona?
well,
Yeah.
I did play the first couple of hours of Dying Light 2. I enjoyed them quite a lot. I did play the first one as well. And what I was going to say in regards to John's comment about the support, the first game was supported to the nines. Like, this game got a lot of content, both free and paid. I didn't play the following, which was the DLC, like the big package. Oh, big package. And but like that supposedly was really good. Like, it had good reviews and stuff. This game, I get the same feeling that I got when I played the other one almost 10 years ago, and like a really fun like sandbox, zombies, open world, parkour. The parkour sounds silly if you haven't played it, but it really adds a lot to the game. Like, it really
Actually, one of the characters is, I was telling this the other day when we were playing co-op, is David Bell. That he's one of the inventors of parkour, basically, and he was the star of like this famous French movie called Banlieue 13. Obviously, how do you say 13 in French? Well, it was like Block 13. It's kind of like this. That's the name of the action movie, and he was also on James Bond films, and he's kind of like a stuntman, and he was kind of like one of the biggest parkour artists out there. He's Hakon. So
he's Hakon. Okay,
yeah. So he's a parkour, like a parkour.
13. I think I think that's how you say.
David Bell. So yeah, I think that
pretty cool.
in general, it's really cool that they legit are trying to like emulate parkour and free running, or like whatever we call it this day. But
Yeah.
it's fun.
By the way,
This is a type of. Oh, sorry.
I just have to say this. Only the French could come up with a sport that revolves around running away. Continue, John.
No, I mean, this is a game that I don't regret, even though I didn't pay for it. I don't think it's a bad thing. Yeah, it was fun. I don't think it's gonna be a bad purchase to get. Like, it's pretty stable for being an open world with like the path
and new
conversation stuff.
because I mean this game hasn't even been out for like a week, and I had
Yeah, exactly.
no problems.
It's
At
cool.
least
It's
not
cool.
that I haven't realized there hasn't been like a first day patch, or at least not that I have noticed.
It plays well as well.
It plays really well, but again, it's a game that probably in a couple of months, even a year, will be more worthwhile because you will have a shit ton of content if they type of replicate what they did with the first game. So it's a matter, if you're really a fan of it, go for it. I would completely recommend this game with my eyes
This
closed.
game's gonna be a hit. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's gonna be a hit.
Yeah, totally.
Like, people are gonna be like playing it for a long time.
And you know,
And-
for Polish developers, this is a win.
Yeah, it's a very polished game
Yeah.
Wow.
as
Actually,
well.
some things that come out of your hands that you saw in some other Polish games, and you have it in this game.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
and
get
they're-
because you
they're-
get superpowers later. Oh, don't spoil it.
No, you're not survive, but you get like some clause, and it's funny because they call like the clause 2177. So
Lol.
it's
Really?
pretty funny.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's an
God.
Easter egg that they have there. So
yeah.
it is pretty cool.
Cool.
But yeah, no, it's been a pretty fun experience. And the other one, I think Christian as well is playing. It's Sifu.
Damn
which
right.
which I was expecting. I was a bit intrigued by that game, and I'm happy to report that it's made by white people, so it sucks. And
Okay. End of the podcast. Bye, guys.
I really liked I really like that everyone was white. Just kidding. The credits. It's
The
a
first
cool
thing I do
game.
when
It is a really
I
good
purchase a game, I go to the credits section,
And
and
see if
if I
everyone.
see a name that doesn't sound white, because it
I don't
has to,
buy.
it has to
No,
sound
it
white.
has to sound white. This game is legit. I honestly like these people might
It's
not be
great.
Chinese, but they definitely respect the kind of like the world building. I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
like the kung fu world building of those
Yeah,
movies, like
I don't
the
think they're
combat.
going into like a mythological type of thing, but at least the movie inspiration, like the kung fu movie inspiration, it's there, and I think that's what they were aiming to.
And the
So
combat is that good. Like once
it
they
is insane.
explain that
Yeah,
this was kind of like a roguelike game, it really has depths. It has like some really nifty mechanics, and it's like it's one of these get good lineup for the PS5. Like damn, they had Demon Souls, we have Returnal, now we have this. It's really solid. It's really hard, I have to say. Like having played Sekiro, I think that I kind of get the hang of it a little bit. But there are things that is like I still need to like adapt and do
yeah,
better. It's a hard game. It's definitely a hard game. It's not for everyone.
yeah. I think it's like it's what they say. It's not again. Yeah, it's not your typical roguelike thing that you're gonna get more and more powerful the more you play. It's a game about I probably am not the first one saying this reference, but it's like Karate Kid. It's like
Yeah,
the right now. You need to repeat and repeat and repeat, and at some point, it's gonna become like you're gonna be like Neo in the Matrix saying, "I
flow
know kung
water.
fu." And it's exactly like you will like you repeat, you learn, you repeat, you
But
learn,
even if
and
you suck, it's still cinematic and still it still looks
you can
solid.
do amazing
Yeah.
things. You can the combat is that good that even if you don't really know what you're doing, you can do pretty cool shit.
I
So yeah,
think yeah. Even if you don't know what you're doing, it looks sick, because you still land some punches on which is very different from the combat on Dark Souls, I would say, or like in Sekiro. Let's use Sekiro as an example. Like if you suck at Sekiro, you look like a fucking loser. Uh, but if you're really good, then it flows like a true combat. Like you feel like a badass. And I think that here it's kind of like an in between. Also, you get to unlock the skills, and the game rewards you for like replaying it. Like it's a way like you get to explore more of the map. You unlock shortcuts. It's pretty dynamic. I think it's super original. Finally, not another just like open world, third person shooter. Like it's different. It feels fresh as hell.
yeah,
The
and the
bosses are
guy, yeah,
tough.
hard.
Like
Yeah, they're tough, and it's what a thing that I really did enjoy is that they are not using these random generator levels and blah blah. And as it's not, you have a level, and
you
the level
can
is always
learn
going
the
to be
level by heart.
exactly. And I think that's the point of the game. Like you need to learn the level by heart so you can actually make a run without dying and just being like this insane kung fu master. That's the goal of the game. It's not getting to the end. It's getting to the end as a kung fu master. Like
And
I
also
know
it's pretty
everything.
cinematic because like for
Yeah.
example one level you walk into like an MMA gym, and the first time I walked in I just like hit someone and then I started like a huge brawl, and then the second time I played it, it's like you don't have to hit anyone, like you could just walk through and everyone would be like this person's just going for the gym. And if you pick like kind of like you have also like dialogue options if you want to like unlock like hidden fights or stuff like that. You can also use that one to make kind of like the run harder, be more badass, like depends how you're feeling. So it's cool. Like I have to say it's a really well thought out game.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do need to say that the AAA games need to really, be really AAA because so far indie games have been
But
insane
this
this
feels
year.
AAA to me. Like
It does feel
it
AAA, even
feels
though it
AAA.
is
Like
not. But
it's just the size, and I think it's the same thing with that I had with Returnal. Like it felt AAA. Like
yeah,
it's
it is
just
just a
smaller.
well-made game.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
really well-made game. No bugs, nor anything. It runs perfectly. It's not like a graphically demanding type of game either. These are really
And you only have one
stylized.
goal. That's the other cool thing. It's like one goal, which
Yeah,
is
Kill Bill.
kill Bill, basically.
It's a Kill Bill type of story.
You're playing as a
So
woman.
no, I'm playing as a dude, of course. I mean,
Are
It's
come
you a
on.
harder.
misogynist?
It's
Yeah,
harder
of
if you
course. It's
play.
because I hate
You
Asian
like
women. That's why I'm
women.
playing as a man.
Exactly. I think it's cool, and it also gives me a hint. Like that if the character stops making me horny, then I know the run is like downhill.
Oh, that's a good like. Okay,
Like,
I
well, I
need
need
to
to step
like
up my
reset.
game. They're beating up this old lady.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
that
kind of
was the point where Christian got cancelled.
Yeah, but you know what? In this game, you can beat the shit out of man and woman at the same
But
time.
women are. I mean, this again. Like this is. I get the feeling in the game that women are weaker. They're faster, but they're weaker in the game.
You know,
just like in real life. I mean, it's true.
if that were to come out, like they actually programmed it that way, you have no idea the flack that the studio
I
would
think
get.
good luck that journalists can't play video games. You know.
Yeah, they cannot play hard video
Yeah,
games. They can still pass the tutorial.
If they play this one, they would be like, "Oof, this is why we should be mad." If you're
Well,
gonna be mad at something, I would be mad at that. Like, bro, some women can't kick your ass. You know.
Well, we've already seen like numerous articles that are already talking about this, like the oh my god, another difficult game, blah blah blah, and you know it's kind of exhausting.
This was hard. On their defense,
Honestly,
this one kicks your fucking ass from the very
This will be
get-go.
harder than any Dark Souls, I would say. Like, so far, it's way harder. Like, okay, I'm not gonna be all like, but I don't find Dark Soul games that hard. You just need to learn how to play it, and this game is that's the same thing. You need to learn how to play it, but it's so different, and there you have so many like the gameplay is really complicated. Like Dark Souls is like dodge, parry, attack. You know, like you have like a set move. Here you
And
even
also
have to like with the sticks go back, go forward, like lower attacks and parry that. It's it's a fighting game. It's a fighting game.
The patterns here are really tough, and you also it's not like a single button. You need like each action needs like a lot of buttons to interact with if they're a bit complex, and it's not.
At some point,
also, you have like several enemies at the same time. It's hard.
Which is something that talking about Assassin's Creed, that's always like, it was not me, it was my mom who made me realize that when I was playing Assassin's Creed back in the day. It's like, but yeah, he fights really cool, but why nobody's attacking? Just one guy at a time. You have like a circle of people around you, but just one guy coming to attack you. That's not real life.
And now here it's like everyone's coming at you.
Everybody's coming at you. Like they don't care. Like you're gonna get fucked too. Like and that's kind of cool. Like it's kind of frustrating sometimes, but it makes it like you just need to get good. Like honestly, this is a game to get good. And coming back to difficulty, like my dudes, we don't need games. You know, not every game is for everybody, and that's something that needs to be respected and accepted.
John, as you're saying this, can you just bring forward the thing you have there and keep talking? I just need you
the Elden Ring.
Every game, every game has the right to be hard. And even though this is gonna be like the easiest game according to
less than 20 days, right?
Less than 20 days. Look at this.
This is gonna get tough, fellas.
Not for sale. Sue me. But
this is gonna get tough.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's gonna be insane. But I do know that in 20 days, the 23rd of February, it's gonna be. I don't care. I don't care what it's gonna be. I'm gonna play the Elden Ring. I don't care about any other game.
The Elden Ring.
I will uninstall everything.
What is that they call it? This one Tarnished, right?
Tarnished.
Yeah, the Tarnished.
Tarnished one. So yeah.
Well, my Tarnished boys, we've reached the end of the podcast. Unless you guys want to talk about Sea of Thieves again, which if you guys talk about Sea of Thieves again, I'm just gonna cut the podcast right now and go to the end. But you can talk about it.
We can make like a parallel show where we just talk about the adventures and see.
That's on Patreon. That's the extra thing that you can get on Patreon. Is the Sea of Thieves talk. But there's an update tomorrow, so let's see. 10th of February, it's coming an update with a bunch of cool things. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. We need to finish that plunder pass though.
You know what, fellows? Video games are cool.
Yeah. In the end, they are.
And with that, we end the show. We will see you on the next episode. But before that, if you like this, please subscribe. Like John, like Christian. Go check out Christian's podcast, hammerspacepodcast.com. Check us out here. You can check us out in Spotify, also in iTunes or Apple Podcast, how it's called as well. Recommend this to your friends. Recommend this to your girlfriend. She will absolutely love us so much that you'll get jealous, my friend. So, see you on the next episode of the show. Hope you enjoyed it.